Hello Silverfitters, it's Brigit here. I am one of the Silverfit Pilates teachers, and this is the 14th edition of Pilates for Silverfit at home. And today we are going to be focusing on our hips and our pelvis. We've got some quite strong moves here, so it's quite strength focused, also incorporating balance work into it as well. So you might want to have a chair handy so that you can hold on to it. Okay, it needs to be stable enough that if you need to rely on it, it's not going to go flying. A wall or a solid door is also a good idea as well. So if you haven't got a chair, you can use the wall. And if you don't need to, you don't need to. And the other thing is, with some of the exercises where we actually lift the leg off, you don't have to. You can keep some contact with the floor because it still tests your balance. Okay, so I just thought I'd let you know that up front, because you can pause the video and get next to a wall or get a chair. Okay, if you need it. Okay, so we're going to start by warming up the hips. So we're going to march on the spot. And as you're marching on the spot, make sure you're not all forwards. Okay, so imagine that you're elbowing somebody behind you, nice and proud, plumb line through the body. We'll step it a little bit wider and narrower and wider and narrower, and we'll go low and high and low and high, and just have your feet a tiny bit wider than hip width apart. And we're going to do 3 squats for 3. Use your bum muscles to come back up. 2 and 1. Good. Give yourself a little shake. We're going to have our hands on our hips, and you're just going to bring your left foot forward, and you can be quite free with this movement. You might need your chair or your wall here. Okay, and we're going to just go for leg circles. So just sort of circling that leg quite loosely. Change direction. We're mobilizing. Still try and get your core muscles going. Okay, shake it out. We're going to do the other side. You might be better balanced on one side than the other. Okay, keep your abdominals lightly engaged, and we're just circling that leg one way and then the other. Whoop. Okay, shake it out. And then the feet are hip width apart again. We're going to inhale, and as we exhale, reach up, a little bit of a back bend, reach high to the ceiling, and then take a big dive forwards. I'll just change aspect. Big dive forwards, like you're diving into the pool. And when you're here, just let everything loose. So you've got wobble and blobble your head, wobble and blobble your shoulders, and then have a sway from side to side. We want strong legs in this position and a strong core, but we want the upper body to be nice and relaxed. Coming back to centre, press your feet down, engage your abdominals, tuck your tailbone, and we're going to roll up. You might want to walk your hands up your thighs. That feels very nice, especially if you've got a stiff back. Okay, and then we're here, and we're going to inhale, and as we exhale, reach up. We're going to do big circles for 3, 2 and 1. And the big circles don't feel so good. Make them smaller. Other way for 3, 2 and 1. Okay. Shake out the arms, and then we're going to keep our feet a little bit wider than hip width apart. I'll stand sideways on, and we're going to squat, but we're going to go down for 4, 3, 2, 1, and come back for 1, and down for 4, 3, 2, 1. Check you can see your toes. Back for 1. We want the backside back, not, we don't want this. We don't want the knees going forwards. Okay, so another 4, 3, 2, 1. Check in with your lower back. Up for 1, and we'll do 1 more like that. 4, 3, 2, 1. And now we're going to hold it. So draw those abdominals in. Make sure your spine is nice and long, and we're pulsing. 4, 3, 2, 1. And let's see if we can get a little bit lower, but reach up with the fingertips. Try not to collapse, keep it very strong in your posture. 4, 3, 2, 1, and take a big dive. And just release the neck, just release the shoulders. You can let the, just give them a little roll around, wobble and blobble your head. And then we're going to roll up again, vertebra by vertebra. You can walk your hands up your thighs or not. And then when you get to the top, we're going to do a little bit of a back bend. So really stretch that front body. You can zap back with the fingertips, or you can interlace the hands. So it's up to you. So we're getting a nice stretch across the pectorals, the collarbones, and release. Lovely, give yourself a shake. Okay, so we're just going to come on to the first exercise, and we're going to do this balancing on one leg, okay? Now, you can use your support, your chair or your wall, or you can just be on the floor, or if you want to work a little bit harder, you can add further stimuli by standing, say, on a block, or what I quite like to do with this one is just to pad up a little bit. And I'm standing on this unstable surface, okay? So that is stimulates the balance a little bit more. It's quite advanced, okay? So if you don't feel comfortable with that, leave this one out, okay? But you're going to be balancing on your right foot, and then keeping that nice straight line through the body. Just glide your left foot forwards, and you're on your tippy toe, and feel these muscles coming into play. And now draw a big semicircle without moving the upper body. And then semicircle back. So it's like your big toe is trying to sort of reach for something. And we'll do that again. And this is 3. And this is 4. Okay, now on the 4th one, I'm just going to turn around so you can see what I'm doing here. So we're just going to hold it, and you're going to come onto the top of your big toe. Now keep that trunk nice and secure. The arms come up, okay, unless you're holding on to something, and then you're just going to hinge forwards. Hinge forwards. Try and keep your hips level, keep your hips level, keep the length. You can keep your big toe on the floor and just go like this. This is absolutely fine. And then we just hold it, keep your hips level. We're not swiveling the hips. Ooh, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then hinge back. So that's very strong. We don't want the hips hinging around or swiveling around. Okay, so we'll do the other side. Of course, you might be really well balanced on one side and all over the shop on the other side, and that's completely normal. Okay, so we'll start off. So your standing side is your left, and we're going to just float the big toe forwards. Okay, now just hold it there. Just acknowledge how that feels. We want to feel the core working. We don't want to be kind of like that. Okay, we want to keep the trunk nice and strong, and you want to be it's like you swallowed a pole. You want to be as centered as you possibly can. Okay, and then big arch. Feel those backside muscles. Try not to let your ribs hang out, so we're really strong around the waistline. Okay, and then come back. And that's 2. And again, you want to keep your hips as much as you can facing forwards, like you've got headlights on your hips. Okay, and then we'll do one more. So it's quite strong balance work. I can feel cramp in my foot. All sorts of strange things going on here. Okay, so we're here, and I'll just change the angle. Okay, so you're here, and you want to be on the top of your big toe. Now make sure you're not losing it in the trunk. Okay, so really strong, zap energy everywhere. Float the arms up, and then if you're going this route, you're just going to hinge. Don't let those hips swivel. Don't let those hips swivel. Keep your hips facing forwards and then down, forwards and down. And we'll hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then come up with control. Whew. Okay, and then we'll shake it out. Okay, so we'll just loosen off those hips before we get down onto the mat. So we'll stand with the feet just a bit wider than hip width apart again. Soften your knees, and we're going to swirl like hula hoop action. change direction. Okay, now remember those squats. So before we went down for 4 and we came up for 1. Now we're going to go down for 1 and we're going to come up for 4. Okay, so we'll have our hands, you can interlace your fingers. Okay, and then we're going to go down for 1 and up for 4, 3, 2, 1, down for 1, up for 4, 3, 2, 1, down for 1. You don't want your quads doing all the work, get your bum muscles on. 4, 3, 2, 1, and down for 1, and up for 4. Imagine you're squeezing something between your bum cheeks. 2, 1, one more, down for 1. Let's hold it. We'll hold it. You can have a little pulse. Let's have a little pulse for 4, 3, 2, 1, and we'll hold it completely still. Make sure your knees aren't caving in or flapping out. Okay, you don't want them beyond the toes. And now we're up for 4, 3, 2, 1. Lovely. You might feel it in your quads eventually, okay, but we don't want the quads straight away going. We want to get our bum muscles involved and the rest of the hip complex, okay? And the better the function is around the glutes and the hips, the less your quads will kind of overreact. Okay, so we will come down onto the mat. I'm just going to change my camera angle. We're all meeting, lying on our backs. Now for this one, if you're a little bit sort of tight round your neck, you might want to pop your head on a cushion or a block even, okay, because we don't want the head tipping back. And we're going to do some leg circles with a band, okay, so a band or a dog's lead or a piece of a long sock, you know, anything that you've got, you can improvise here. But basically, we're going to give ourselves a little bit of support so we can control the leg and the action around the knee and the action around the hip a little bit more. So you don't want the band to be too low resistance. You want to have a little bit of resistance here, okay? And then we're going for our circles. So you just want to really focus on the stabilizers around the hips and around the knees. So you don't want to feel like there's a sort of a clunky or out of feeling here. I think that's 4. We'll do 5 both ways. Okay, and then we'll change direction. Now with the still leg, you want that to be really strong as well. So we want to avoid kind of rocking and rolling. We want to keep the pelvis nice and still, and we want to keep the neck nice and long, and we want to keep the shoulders nice and broad. We'll do one more this way. You want to feel your core as well. Okay. So that was 5 each way. And then we're going to swap. So your still leg wants to be nice and strong. If it's too sort of just floppy, you'll feel less strong because it won't be as strong. Okay, so you don't want this leg just kind of hanging out here. You want to anchor, it's your anchor. Okay, and also we don't want to bring loads of tension into the shoulders. So we want the chest and shoulders to be strong but not full of tension. So once you're ready to go, we're going for 5. You may need to soften your knee a little bit as the leg comes in towards you. That's 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then we're going to change direction for 5. If you hear that little popping sound, that's my hip flexor. I've got a tight hip flexor, so don't be too concerned if you hear a sort of that popping. But what you don't want is pain and electrical sensations. So if you're feeling that it's too strong, you can just soften your knee a little bit. This is the last one. Okay, or try and engage your core more, or maybe reduce the range. So you don't want to, we never want to feel pain. Okay, a little bit of tester of our stamina is fine, but we don't want to feel pain. Okay, so we'll shake out the legs, and we're going to have our hips and our knees and our feet all in line so that they are hip width apart. And I quite like with this one to just put your hand on your belly, because you'll feel these muscles kicking in, you'll feel the muscles working, and you'll also be able to check in with your ribs, okay, because we don't want them popping and flaring out. So with this one, we're just going to do single knee drops. So as we inhale, one knee goes over to the side. Now it's with control, and as you exhale, bring the leg back with control, and then we'll change legs. Inhale, I'm rolling onto the side blade of my foot. Exhale. Now I'm going to do a couple of dodgy ones. So we don't want to inhale and just bringing everything over with us, and then exhale. Okay, and then look at this side. So inhale, that's dodgy, where I'm just sort of, my whole rest of my body is being kind of sucked over with the action. So we want to keep neurological control here. Inhale, exhale, feel that zipping up. Other side, inhale, exhale, we're zipping up, okay, and then release. So we'll tuck the knees into the chest, have a rock from side to side, and then release the feet one at a time onto the floor. Now the feet and the knees and the hips, we still want them to be hip width apart. And sometimes our feet can be in really strange places, and we feel like they're hip width apart, but they're not. So it is hard to kind of check out the placement of your feet, but just have a little look at them. You know, we want to make sure that they're not sort of out of alignment. Okay, and so now we're going to do, so if you imagine your belly is a clock face, and on this side it's 3 o'clock, and on this side it's 9 o'clock. In the middle of the clock face is a marble, and we're going to roll it between the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock. So you get this little sort of controlled hip roll, pelvis roll. Now some people find this really, really awkward, and the knees start going like this. We want to keep the knees pointing up to the ceiling, so it's isolated. Okay, now if the marble analogy doesn't work for you, imagine you've got a piece of string on each of your, like the iliac crest, and then one side the piece of string is pulling up, and then you release, and then you pull the other piece of string up, and then you release. So for some people that piece of string, it's like puppet string analogy, works better. Okay, but this gives us a really nice sense of our sort of the alignment and the position of the pelvis. It's great for body awareness. Okay, good. And then we'll tuck in. Now hopefully you got to grips with that. And if it just feels a bit too weird, because it does sometimes, or you're kind of unable to control the rest of the body, just press pause and just close your eyes and give it a go with your eyes closed, and that might be better for you. Okay, so we are going to come up and we're going to do that same action, but we're going to do it from a shoulder bridge. Okay, so we're going to inhale, and as you exhale, you're just tilting the pelvis. Now we're not having to get the glutes on just yet. We're tilting the pelvis, we're lengthening that spine, and now we'll switch the glutes on as we start to roll up, vertebra by vertebra and by vertebra, and we come up into the bridge. And we want to have a solid bridge, okay, so we don't want to be all saggy, and we don't want our ribs popping, and we don't want to be all disconnected. So we want a really solid bridge, okay, this is where we start. And now we're going to roll that. So if you imagine you've got those pieces of string, and we're doing that, and then we're doing that. Okay, so the marble's going between 9 and 3 o'clock. So it's like you'll feel one glute activates more, and then the other glute activates more. So you're getting this sort of rhythmic sway. Now, if this is a bit too strong, you can repeat the lying on the floor version, or you could just maybe, otherwise keep going, Or you could just kind of give yourself a sense of lift. You've got any cushions or blocks or anything like that, so you can just kind of do the same thing, but just raising your hips a little bit, but using a prop. I'm sure we all want to come out of this now. So we're going to roll back down, vertebra by vertebra by vertebra. And by the way, always come out of an exercise. If you feel like you've kind of peaked and you're sort of on the downward, just come out of the exercise. We want to quit whilst we're ahead. We're going to circle out the knees, and then we're going to change direction. Okay, now you can roll forwards and backwards if you want to. They do suggest that once you get over a certain age, that's not suitable. But if you know you've got robust bone health and you're fine with that, then that's fine. Otherwise, you might just feel that something like this is a little bit more suitable, especially if you've got arthritis or osteoporosis. Okay, doesn't matter. It's a massage for the spine, so this is just as good as the forwards, backwards. Okay, so just do what's suitable for you. And then we're just going to roll onto our sides, and then we'll swivel around onto hands and knees. Couple of cat-cow stretches. And now we are here, so we're in the tabletop position, and we're going to do this, so I'll give you an alternative as well if you don't like the hands and knees variation, but with this one, we're going to tap down lightly with the knee, and then as we exhale, we're squeezing, and then as we inhale, we tap down lightly with the knee, and as we exhale, we're squeezing. Now do 6 to 8 on one side, and whilst you're getting on with that, I'm going to show you what the alternative is. So the alternative would be lying on your fronts with one leg straight and the other leg bent, and then you just squeeze like so. Okay, so this is, it's just if you don't want to put weight on your wrist, this is a nice alternative. But as you squeeze, you keep those abdominals drawing in. Of course you could do both. they're slightly different. The sensation is slightly different, the feedback's slightly different. So why not do both? Okay, when you finish one side, just come into a child's pose. Have a lovely stretch there. And then we're on our hands and knees again, or not if you're not. Okay, and then we're going to do the other side. So inhale as you tap down, exhale, squeeze, try and maintain the right angle behind your knee. Inhale, try to avoid this. Also try to avoid this. Okay, so you want to keep your pelvis really stable. It's like you're in a sort of vice or a clamp. And every time you do that action, feel those abdominals, feel the glutes. The other thing to avoid is dangling head. So this is quite a common thing that we do when we get a bit fatigued. So try and keep your spine nice and long. And we'll do one more. And then release. Okay, so quick child's pose here. Stretch out your wrists. And then we'll float onto hands and knees, and we're going to tuck our toes under. Get a really nice purchase with your hands here, so we don't want to overload the wrists. Press into the knuckles of your fingers, and we're going to jack the hips up. We're in our downward facing dog, and you're just going to pedal through the feet. Nice stretch for the spine and the back of the legs. And then very gently we'll float back down, and we're going to come into a high kneel. Now, it's nice to pad up underneath the knees, especially if you've got knobbly knees. Knees like a soft surface in any case, so it's worth just having a moment to do that. And with this one, you can be on the tops of your feet or you can tuck your toes under. And it just depends. If you're on the tops of your feet, we're putting weight on our shin, which is very nice because we're not putting weight on the kneecap. If you tuck your toes under, there's more likely to be weight on the kneecap, which might not be great for your knees, but it does avoid foot cramp. So you just got to call it really, or maybe mix and match both. I'm going to do this one. So we're going to place our hands on the bottom of our sacrum, and imagine you're pressing your hips into a wall, okay? And we want to press the shins down. We want length. We want growth, okay? We don't want to scrunch and compress. And we're just going to lengthen. And if you've got the mobility, start to present your sternum. So it's like you've got a fish hook. You're presenting your sternum to where the wall meets the ceiling. But try not to collapse around the neck. Keep, imagine you've got an orange underneath your chin. Nice stretch for the abdominals. Good for mobilising the back, and release. It goes without saying, we do not want to feel a pinching in our lower back. So if you're feeling that pinching in the lower back, ease off out of it, maybe come into a child's pose, okay? We know this by now, we don't want to feel the pinch in the lower back, we want to get the other back muscles involved, we want to create strength, we want to create growth. This is really important. Okay, now whilst we're here, we're going to sit back, but not all the way to our heels. This will be in your quads. And now squeeze your glutes together and scoop up. We want the glutes working. So it's quads, the focus is on the quads on the way down and the glutes on the way up, rather than quads down, quads up, okay? If you're feeling it quads down, quads up, maybe don't come down quite so low. So you've got to find the moment, find the spot where it works for you, and then you develop on that, rather than kind of overload every time and never quite hit the mark. And the more Pilates you've done, the more you'll kind of understand that, and the body will understand it. Okay, but we get there in the end. Okay, and that's our last one there. Okay, and then we're going to come down. I'm going to lie on our sides. And we're going to, with this one, I think most of you are familiar with this one, we're going to draw oval shapes with the top leg. Now with the bottom leg, if you're advanced you can straighten it. I won't teach that today, but you'll know it if you can do it. But for most of us, what's really nice is to bend the lower leg, and that creates a really nice stable platform. And then with your top leg, we're going to flex the foot, okay, so we're pressing into the heel, and just by really pressing into the heel, you'll feel the performance of the abdominals working here. And we're going to draw ovals close to the ground, and we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, a clean oval shape, and 5, and now we change direction for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And now we're going to go vertical oval, so up and down for 1, 2, 3, 4, feel these bum muscles working, and 5, change direction, vertical ovals, flex foot for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, now give yourself a little shake and a squelch if you need it. We're going to repeat that, but we're going to now work with pointed feet. Okay, so I hope you were listening first time. We've just done a set with flex feet. We're now going to work with pointed feet. So imagine you're zapping a laser out of your big toe, and that's your midpoint. So you're ovaling around that laser. Okay, we're going horizontal to start with for 1, 2, make sure you can catch the glute muscles here. 3, that's your job to get those working. 4 and 5, change direction. Make sure you're working an extension as well as flexion, that's behind you. 3, 2, keep your abdominals working, and 1, vertical ovals for 1, around that laser. 2, 3, keep your waistline. 4, and 5, change direction, vertical for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, and we'll hold it, really zap length into the toes, really draw those abdominals in and up, create that Pilates opposition. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lovely. Ooh. And I'm sure we were all feeling it. If you weren't feeling it in your glutes then, it's not because you've got really strong glutes, it's because you weren't generating force in the glutes, okay? So it's quite nice, you can just get a handful of bum muscle, and if you can't sense the glutes working, you will feel them working, and you can give them a little prompt. Okay, so we'll come over and we'll do that whole same thing on the other side. I'm sure you all felt it in the glutes. And one side is bound to be more responsive than the other. Okay, that's normal, we're all a little bit wonky. So we're gonna press into the heel, so we start off flexing the foot. Just a quick note on our neck, we're trying not to be like that, so you wanna keep your neck nice and long. So zip up, press into the heel, we're zapping the laser out of the heel, okay, that's our center point, we're gonna oval around that, okay, and we're gonna go for 1, horizontal, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We change direction, horizontal for 5. Keep your upper body still. 4, 3. Press that leg into the floor. 5. Vertical ovals, kneecap facing forwards for 1, 2. Try not to swivel. 3, 4, 5. Change direction, vertical ovals, flex feet. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Have a quick break if you need it. Otherwise, we point the foot, we're zapping a laser out of the big toe, zip up, we want to stay in one piece, horizontal ovals for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, change direction for 5, we're horizontal, 4, pointed feet, 3, 2, and 1. We're now vertical ovals for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, last little bit for 5, vertical, 4, 3, 2, will we make it? Yes we will, and 1. Check out your neck, is it scrunching? We can't let that happen. And then hold it completely still, zapping energy into your big toe, zipping up. We're creating that Pilates opposition. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, whew, and release. Give it a little rub, maybe a little scrunch, a little squelch is quite nice. We'll roll over onto our fronts and we'll just let our legs be floppy, and we're just going to sort of flip-flop the legs in and out, nice and soft. Okay, and then we'll just come up onto our hands and knees. And we're going to walk the hands over towards the left side of the mat, and your right hand can either be on top or in front of the left. It's just whatever's more comfy for you. And you're going to arch that back like an angry cat, draw those abdominals in, you're looking at your belly button, and then we're going to reverse the hips back to the opposite heel. So hands are going left, hips are going right. You feel that lovely stretch on the right hand side of your body. If it's too lovely, just kind of ease off a little bit, come back to center. If it's not quite intense enough, exaggerate the position. And then inhale, exhale, float back up, and your hands go over to the right of the mat, and your left hand is either on top or in front of the right. Arch that back, scoop those abdominals in, and then you're going to reverse the hips back towards your left heel. Hands to the right, hips to the left. And again, just you want to feel a really nice stretch on your left side here. Other things you can try, you can tilt the pelvis a little bit. You can maybe really sort of get some deep breath into this area, the top side ribs, fanning out the ribs. And then walk everything back to center. So we're in a standard child's pose. And bring the hands back around. And we'll just take a few really nice deep breaths here into the upper back. So get a lot of expansion. A lot of our lung capacity is up here in the upper back.
So deep breaths in and just let that exhale really ooze out.
Okay, and then we're just going to come over onto our backs and we'll stretch out the glutes and we'll stretch out the legs and the hips. So for the glute stretch, we'll have our right leg over our left, and then we'll do the number 4 stretch. Okay, so this is our standard glute stretch. And if you've got, if you've got more of a signature glute stretch that you like, just do that instead. That's absolutely fine. You can vary this one as well. You can press your elbow on your side thigh. Try not to be all scrunched, so keep your neck nice and long. Okay, and then we'll shake that side out and we'll swap it over. Remember about this foot, so the leg that you cross, you want to flex the foot, and that gives a little bit of protection for the knee. It works the muscles on the front of the leg, protects that knee. Okay, and again with this one, stretching, we can get a little bit too, go a bit too far with it sometimes, and it affects the rest of the body, so you don't need to tense up anywhere else. Tension in the neck will not improve the stretch. Okay, and then release, shake that side out, and now we're going to stretch out the hamstring. So we've got right hamstring. If you're very, very tight, you can move in and out of the stretch, which is a lovely way to stretch, because it means we're not going to overstretch, but we are going to stretch. And maybe you start off with a little bit of movement, and maybe you kind of just work your way into the static. And again, try not to hold tension around the neck and the shoulders. Cushion might come in handy here. And then we'll swap it over. So I'm tighter on this side, and things that I need to be mindful of on my tighter side is shoulders, neck scrunch, and also lift off through the back side. So your priority here is even in the stretching, we want to prioritise that what's happening in the trunk, rather than aiming to get your foot in your face, but then at the expense of everything else. Okay, and then when you've eased into it, maybe you want to just kind of hold that stretch, which we want to feel in the belly of the muscle. So you don't want to feel it at the attachments, you want to feel it right in the heft of the muscle here. Otherwise it's not the right stretch. Okay, and shake it out. Okay, so we're going to come into a straddle. So we're going to have the feet up in the air, and then just use your hands and just bring the legs apart into a straddle position. And let's flex the feet, and now point the feet, and now flex the feet, and point the feet, and flex the feet, and we're going to circle the feet for 3, 2, 1, change direction for 3, 2, 1. Have your hands on the outsides of your thighs and use your arm strength just to bring those legs back together again. And then we'll have our arms down by our side. And if you're feeling strong, you can lower your legs like so, all the way to the floor. And if you're feeling less strong, you can do it one at a time. And if you're feeling like you've already had enough, tuck in and lower your legs like that. I'm going to do the one at a time one. So we've got one, and then we've got the other one. Lovely. And then we're safely on the floor, and we're just going to move our head from side to side. And this is such a nice one to release tension from your neck. So soft gaze towards the ceiling, or just close your eyes, and we're just going to shrug and release the shoulders a few times, give them a little roll. And then we'll tuck the knees into the chest and roll over onto your side, doesn't matter which. And then we're going to come into a sitting position. And I'm going to sit on a block here because my hips are quite tight. Okay, so sitting on a block, and we want to, again, nearly fell off. So we want to not be like this when we're sitting. We want to be nice and tall. So it might mean you need to raise your hips. So don't be proud. If they need raising, they need raising. And we're going to have our hands here on our knees, and we're just going to swirl around a couple of times. Little swirl. Change the cross of your legs. Swirl the other way. Interlace fingers, and we're going to press the air away as we're scooping those abs. Nice controlled C curve, and then big burst open. TP fingertips behind you, maybe they get to the floor, and now we're going to lengthen our front spine. Try not to scrunch, we want space, we want height, we want growth, and then we spread our wings and give yourselves a clap. Namaste everybody. That was hips, and yeah, that was hips. So if you've got any ideas for next time, drop us a line. Yeah, this was number 14 already. Where are we? We're in July already. So we've had a heat wave and the summer hasn't even started yet. See you soon. Bye.